Hi, welcome to Top Dice. My name's Ade. I've got Chris with me, and also we've got Faith. Faith, welcome as the guest. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi, lovely to meet you. So my name's Faith Elisabeth Lilley. I'm I live in Derby in the UK, and I've been working in the games industry now for a bit over 7 years. Um, been playing since I managed to convince my stepmother to buy me the D&D Red Box when it came out at Christmas from Games Workshop in Birmingham because they sold other people's stuff back then.
They did. They did
Yeah,
indeed.
got it out and went and talked to friends, and we're like, there you go, hooked on role play games.
Well, a pretty good start. So that would have been what, about early 80s, late 70s?
It's late 70s. Well, no, it's like I think it's about what, 80s, mid 80s.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about mid 80s, the red box. I still think of the purple box one as sort of the red box, which is really wrong.
I've still got some of those plastic dice you have to use the crayon to fill in on. That's around here somewhere.
Have yours sort of pitted and sort of really broken and chipped as well? That was the
No,
big.
because I
Oh,
stopped using them as soon as I got better dice.
we didn't, unfortunately. We just carried on using them. And the D4 is more like a sphere these days, but it's hidden away in with the other dice somewhere in God knows what boxes. I've got loads of stuff. You can only see one section of it actually here, as Chris will confirm. I've got so many games, it's ridiculous.
I mean,
But anyway,
yeah.
we know you primarily from Wizards of the Coast, which you were with for quite a period of time, and you were D&D Beyond with them.
Yeah, so I was working for D&D Beyond since pre-launch back in what's it, March 2017, um, all the way through the whole acquisition with Twitch, moving across being to fandom, then of course being sold to Wizards of the Coast, and then I was there for how long was it? From like from May 22 till January 23.
And what would you regard as your real high point working there
Ooh,
on Beyond? One thing you can choose. One thing. What is your high point? What's the one thing that sticks out for you?
one thing. Hmm, It's going to be something most people don't really know about, which is on the actual D&D Beyond side, is the Legends of Runeterra crossover, the Dark Tides of Bilgewater, which I came up with this idea of like, hey, why don't we do like some kind of crossover with like some other IP. Like I know some people at Riot, and the marketing guy was like, "Hey, yeah, no, I think I might know somebody as well. So let's try and get something sorted." So we got a deal. We were going to make three, full digital books to promote Legends of Runeterra and the League of Legends Riot universe. Um, and I was one of the people that took lead on that, so I got to do all the art direction, all the editing.
Wow.
Worked with Joey, that's James Hake, who did most of the writing. There were like Todd Kenrick was involved, so it was a good group effort. There were a bunch of people involved in actually writing material for it, and making sure that all the stuff was fun and interesting and thematic for the various champions. Because I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to video games as well as role play games, so I knew all of it.
Well, I remember those. Yeah, I was on D&D Beyond right from the very beginning actually, and I just thought it was a great idea. It's really moved on obviously from the early days now, but
Yeah.
the potential for it at the beginning was just amazing, and it's looking like the future. That's what Wizards are looking at as the future now, isn't it? Online and digital rather than print.
Yeah, I mean, there's things have changed a bit, right? So D&D Beyond really did change the face of the way things work for playing online. Um, it was positioned well. It was a good product, but also, it happened to become actually a good product at about the point where people really needed to be able to play online with when COVID hit. So there's, it's one of those sort of lightning struck kind of moments.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's we did have a try, didn't we, Chris, online a couple of times, but we didn't
Yeah,
use
we
any of the
did. Yeah,
professional.
yeah,
And it's ended up a bit chaotic to say the least. I wish
yeah.
actually we'd actually gone down that route rather than the route we
Yeah.
chose.
Probably because we're far too old, and we used to like sitting around a table. So,
Yeah,
but I know my daughter uses it a lot because she plays. She's the D&D player of the family. I'm more
Yeah.
like games, things like that. And she's always like, "Oh, Dad, I've just got this character, blah blah blah." And she really, she's. I think she uses a phone, things like that. So it's really easy to connect. So she's, it's sort of progressed, from what I can tell. Like the early days, it was more kind of like an assistant like tool, wasn't it?
Yeah, I
And
mean, start with the Gambit was like, it was the basic rules, right? That's what it launched with. The beta is just, hey, here's the SRD stroke basic rules. And here's like a rudimentary character sheet. And honestly, that if you find any screenshots, that first character sheet was a bit shocking.
yeah.
But here's the thing: when you're creating a product and going to market like that, one of the key things is to get something out so you can actually start getting user feedback on what they want. And it turned out that people didn't want a character sheet that looked fancy and digital. They wanted something that looked like and evoked the ideas of the paper character sheets. That's why you've got like all the styling that you've got on the current character sheet on there when it was completely rebuilt.
And it looks absolutely amazing now. In fact, it's looked amazing for a few years now as D&D Beyond. Let's face it, they've really managed to capture the feel of the game with the art. And I
Oh,
know there's quite a lot of people aren't keen on the art and etc. But the thing is, I'm old school. I just love it. It's in fact there you go. There we go. Even got the T-shirt to prove it. I grew up with
hold on.
D&D,
Okay.
and every iteration I've
The
actually sort
hoodie's
of played.
comfortable.
Yeah, it's. I think the only one that I didn't really spend much time with was fourth because it was more of a war game. We went in a different way, but all the other versions of D&D, AD&D, etc. I've even got the original little white box upstairs still
Wow.
hidden away, and the books are immaculate. And it's don't ask
like I
me how
said,
I keep them immaculate. I used to carry them around in my school bag. So how I've kept them
Like
so good.
I've got a second edition AD&D book downstairs that used to go to school and back with me, and that's in tatters.
Oh, mine
It
is
got
as
used
well. Yeah,
so much.
yeah. Mine is. It's. I think when I was at junior school, God, to show my age now. That's when I actually sort of got the white box one. I actually ended up swapping a load of football cards. The old used to get bubblegum with football cards, and it was like Kevin Keegan and all those, and it was Ray Toshak and
right there, sir.
yeah, that's it. And I'd had such a collection, I had a bag full, and I had to swap every single one I've got for this. And it was the dice that sold me on this thing because I saw 20-sided dice, and as like a 10-year-old, I was like, "Ooh,
Cool.
Right.
that was it." Addicted, unfortunately, all because of the dice. But anyway, yeah, it's so moved on so much since then, and obviously it's moved on from the old RPGA now to the organized play, D&D Beyond, etc. Where do you see D&D Beyond going? I know you're no longer with them as
Oh,
such, but where
so
do
I
you
mean
see it?
that's interesting. So I mean, one of the last things that I did in 22 was wrote out as my role at the time was senior producer for Digital D&D Beyond. So I was the product team and the character sheet team and content team. That I was managing those teams, and I wrote out a document that was like, hey, what's the path forward for the next year to talk to the exec team about. And there's a lot of things on there that have come to fruition already, which is pretty cool to see, even though I'm no longer there. Some of this stuff still went and happened. Um, Seeing the third party stuff, and because I've still got friends there who I chat to occasionally as well. Um, ex-colleagues. But seeing the third-party stuff coming in, that's pretty cool. And seeing, the boost that gives to those third-party independent creators is amazing. Ghostfire Gaming and Hit Point Press both produce some really good stuff.
They do.
In terms of where it's going, that's like a passion topic of mine, really, in terms of where things are going digitally, because quite often people say to me, "Hey, Faith, so you love tech, so you think that websites and tech are replacing role play books?" I'm like, no, that's not happening. But the role of the actual book is changing, and in fact already has started to change. So when I was a lot younger and we played these games a lot, I can tell which books I've had for a long time because they're battered and abused from all the use. But my D&D books, they're all pretty pristine. In fact, some of them I've opened, looked through all the art and went, "Oh, that new book smell." And like special edition cover, and I've just put it on my shelf with all the others, picked which order it's in. They've moved to becoming a collectible item. And I know a lot of people who have got I've bought the regular cover and the special edition cover, and then they only ever look at it on the website.
Yeah.
So, there's still going to be a massive market for people who want these things. There's a problem, for the industry to solve about how you get hold of the digital content and the physical book as well in a an ethical, reasonable manner that's actually pro-consumer. So as you probably know, there was quite a bit of effort put in when I was actually at Wizards to try and make sure that the bundles were done, so that you can actually buy the physical and digital product together. I think there's more work that can be done around that. I'm not criticizing Wizards on that, but I think the industry as a whole can actually move forward, and be better around that. But yeah, physical books aren't going away, but there's a lot of cool, interesting tools littering the internet that you can use to play online, and you can use to play in person, just like using your phone or tablet, bringing those together and making the best things you can. I love the fact that you can use a variety of things. You want to use Foundry for your game, like really dig into the details and set up the automated stuff, go ahead. You want to just use D&D Beyond for your character sheet, and then use Albert Rodeo or something like that for your map, because you just want to simple, or just go Theatre of the Mind. Yeah, sure. So I don't think there's going to be any absolute killer app or website's going to turn up that does all of the things, because there's just too much, and you can't compete with people on their specialty grounds, right? Like, who would think about trying to add video to their site as well for actually playing games when you're competing against Zoom or Discord or whatever, right? Because that's what they do. You're just not going to be as good. So it's about tech industry and role play picking what it wants to do. The other side of it, there's not a huge amount of money in the role play industry. You look at all the various companies and they're pretty small, other than like Wizards, maybe Paizo, a couple of others that have got a fair few staff, but the majority of it's a handful of people, and it's just a fact you don't make as much money. So I took a massive pay cut to leave what I was doing previously to go work on D&D Beyond, and a big risk. So I was working as a program manager, at a large company, doing facilities management. Wasn't very interesting. Doing the IT on that. I was kind of slated pretty much to move up to director role, and it's like, by the numbers, you get a decent amount of money doing that. But saw the opportunity to get involved in D&D Beyond, and I just jumped at it because I could build all the content, and it turns out I knew D&D better than anybody else they had, and they really needed somebody in the pre-Wizards days who was an absolute expert on the D&D rules and really understood the game and understood all the tech.
Yeah, that's the big thing. How far do you think we actually are from seeing a virtual dungeon master?
Ooh, AI, right?
Yeah, now obviously we're not talking art AI because that's a bit too controversial, but an actual AI dungeon master where people could log in to a Wizard site and actually have a game, for example, opening session of Curse of Strahd or something like that, with a AI DM that will actually present, run, and actually give a good game, basically.
I mean, I know two people that are working on exactly that right now. Not going to give away who and what commercial secrets, but you know, these things are in development. I would say there's going to be at least working prototypes available for public use within the next 2 years.
Which is quite amazing when you think, you know, if you think 10 years ago, my background, well, one of my backgrounds was IT as well. And I actually quit the IT side because I didn't find the work I was doing very rewarding or interesting. And I needed to go into something else just for my own sanity, basically. And I could sort of see the way technology was going, which was really exciting. But unfortunately, the person I was working for wasn't interested in quite a lot of the areas that I actually sort of was. But I could actually sort of see on the horizon the very basics, and this is 20 years ago, the beginnings of AI and all that, and what the potential actually was. And it's just absolutely mind-blowing, the direction it could do, and the potential things that it could do for good as well. We're not talking Terminator, obviously, here, and that sort of thing. But there's so much good stuff there that it could actually sort of do. And I suppose have you ever played Mansions of Madness at all?
Of course I have.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. I thought I'd just sort of test. Do you know what? That's that I think is a really early iteration of the way it could actually sort of go. Now it is very basic, that one, but it does give you a sort of a glimpse of the direction that
I mean,
things
hey,
could go.
do you ever play Advanced Hero Quest?
I've played Advanced Hero Quest, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a game that had some very specific rules on how the monster should act and behave, right?
Yeah.
So the person that was running that, in fact, I used to play that with friends where actually we just all played, right? Because the rules were so perspective for the monsters that it's not even like the person running them had to make actual decisions on what they were doing.
That was it.
It specifically told you how it acted. So, you know, that kind of game, although it's a board game, it's got role play elements. Super simple to automate something like that. And then you just build on top of that. All you do is you can just make the rules a little bit more nuanced and a bit more complex. And then, you know, when we're talking about AI, you've got like, you know, what people consider to be AI, but it's like you look at like chatbots that you have on a website or something like that. All it really is it just learns that, hey, given these particular prompts and this particular data, this is my response.
Yeah.
It's not massively clever or anything. It's just the way I think there's you've got, or I think that the way I try to explain it to people is you look at, say, a random encounter table has 20 entries on it. Well, if you then expand it to like 100 entries, and then feed all that in and say, hey, but now you can mix and match them around. So it could take like, okay, a bit from this one, a bit from this one, a bit from this one, and make up new encounters. That's all it's really doing.
Yeah. As a programmer, it's actually not that difficult to do either, is it?
I mean, doing it so it's good. I mean, so
well, that's it. Doing it is good, but the actual basics, yeah.
The internet is full of like thousands of websites from people who knew how to write code on things, but didn't really understand how to deliver a good consumer experience.
Yeah, that's where someone like Wizards actually comes in and comes into their own, because they've got a pretty damn good team behind them. And I'm guessing the teams, and you mentioned multiple teams, I'm guessing there's a lot of people working behind the scenes on development of these various apps and programs.
I mean, that would be a perfectly reasonable guess to make.
Yeah, it must be quite sizable. That would be my take on it.
I mean, you can look at public information, right? So Wizards of the Coast hire people, so they publish jobs talking about what they're doing. So, it's a matter of public record that they are working on various things. They've even openly talked about the Unreal 5 engine, VTT alike product they're working on. I don't know if the actual vision for what that's intended to do has changed much since I was there, but that's pretty interesting. The whole idea there, right?
Yeah. It's actually just even beginning to think of the directions it could go is just absolutely mind blowing. It really, really is. I think
let me pitch this out at you then. So think about the way that gaming's become a lot more convenient for people, right? So actually trying to get people together is like really hard. It's a big joke. Really, is the scheduling monster's the highest CR monster in the game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just imagine if you can just play with random people you don't even know. I mean, that could be a horrific experience. I don't know. I mean, I've played enough online multiplayer games that I know that some communities are okay, some less so.
Yeah.
It's working out those that actually work for you. And yet there are some that are better than others. But I would be hoping that quite a percentage of those coming on to actually play are there because they want to enjoy the experience and actually play.
Did you ever play World of Warcraft?
I played EverQuest actually and was involved with developing and testing.
Okay,
for that
cool.
many years ago.
So,
Good God.
Here's a sorry, I talked over you there, Chris.
And my friends played it, and it actually put me off because of the sort of rise of the sort of rather sort of elitist, toxic nature of some people.
Yeah.
But I've got the blah blah sort of blah that does blah, and it's like you're basically crap because you've not got this. And it was less about the experience and more about what you had. Which is one thing I really do enjoy about actual role playing, because it's all about, well, it's usually the groups I've been involved with anyway, it's all about the story and a sort of collective endeavor that you're all there to do because you've all invested the time, the money, and the social experience. So yeah, I'm more of a sort of tabletop book kind of guy. I don't really like. It's funny. I started in this not liking technology in a very traditionalist manner, but now I'm finding the addition of, like, for example, AI, music, and sort of enhancements make my life as a busy GM with 3 kids, a family, and everything else, and a job, a hell of a lot more easier to control. So yeah. I'm slowly coming around to this idea of sort of like AI generated things. I've still got an issue with AI art.
Oh yeah, so I mean, generative AI as a technology is really fascinating and interesting, but it has to be used ethically. That's my line, right?
Which is, and it's a difficult subject, isn't it? Because there's an awful lot of sort of like traditions within role playing as well, and a lot of people fall foul of sort of I forget what the term is, gatekeeping, I guess. Sort of what that's not playing if you've sort of got like an AI GM, and we've all seen the sensationalist videos. They're out there. But the advancement of technology, it's like the tide. You can't fight it. It's going to happen. So
Clickbait is good for views, right? Hey, but the reason I mentioned World of Warcraft is when I first started playing that and other games, I played a bit of EverQuest 2, not the original. Like if you wanted to go do a dungeon, you needed to go find some friends or
You did.
create or join a guild or something, find some people, arrange, hey, we're gonna go do this. And then one of your friends would flake out and you'd have to try and find somebody else. And like it was a whole effort to actually get like a handful of people, whether
It
it's
was.
5 or 10 or
Yeah.
whatever, actually
Yeah.
to the entrance of the dungeon and have the right sort of characters that you needed to be able to tank, DPS, heal, all that kind of stuff. And then eventually Blizzard went like, this is a major hurdle to people playing our games. Some people just want to be able to log in, play for a few hours, and then like get on with their life. So they introduced that dungeon finder, which was you could jump in a queue and it would like be like, hey, you're queuing as this character, so it would automatically balance it. And so I think there's very much a viable future around something like that. Imagine like you pull out your tablet and like sort of go, oh, I want to play some D&D. I just want to do a bit of hack and slash dungeon or something for now. All right, I'll just join the queue. Well, there you go. I'm now in like a digital VTT, like nice 3D thing. Like think something like Baldur's Gate 3, but probably maybe not as fancy, but with some people and like an automated dungeon master. And hey, here's a dungeon for you to go play through with those people.
You can make some really great friends actually as well. Again, through World of Warcraft. I know people who've made some great things through World of Warcraft. EverQuest, same from my experience in that, and Lord of the Rings Online. And it's all about choosing the right people to play with, as you would do around a table. And it's all about talking, have a chat, and you figure out who you will actually connect with. And that's where I sort of used to find my best experiences. And I did meet some amazing people online. I really did through those games.
Talking about AI, sort of, dungeon masters. In your experience, Faith, because like people are working on this whole sort of automated dungeon master thing. What do you think it would be possible to sort of have like the same experience for sort of like to have like an AI player? Like for example, you could, if you couldn't find players to run a game and you thought it would be nice to have a group of say 4 or 5 people, if you can only find 2, you could sort of hire sort of AI henchmen to sort of go through the adventure with you.
Sure. I mean, there's real legs in that kind of idea, yeah. And it's just about training data and modeling. That's the big thing with AI, trying to get it to try and train it. And you need a large amount of data. It takes quite a while, to say, hey, do this, and it comes up with a decision like, no, that wasn't the right thing. So, to train it. But all those things are totally doable. And given just how good a lot of the text-to-speech stuff's got recently, and including like real-time facial modeling as well, right? So you can, you could easily have like, I mean, where the technology is kind of already out there to do, you can see streamers doing them where they have like digital personas, but they're like a bit low poly. But like there's, if you've got a decent piece of hardware, you can have a fairly realistic. I mean, you've seen the current crop of Unreal Engine 5 games, right? How good the characters and how lifelike they look. We're not far off being able to just have like a person like in your Zoom chat who's not even a real person, with a realistic sounding voice, which kind of is like cool, but also kind of a bit scary.
Yeah, it can be very difficult to actually sort of tell if some of these characters are AI or whether they're actually sort of real people as well. That's half the fun of it, I think, too, because I know my encounters with AIs on that side, talking to them, a lot of the responses they actually sort of give, it's only if you start picking them really apart that you could actually begin to figure out if the various good ones actually are AI. But then again, with the responses that they do give, it could be a sign of someone's personality, the way they put the inference on certain words and certain things. So it's becoming quite a blur, I think, as well.
I got asked a couple of times by customers at D&D Beyond if I was a chatbot, because I had nearly 11,000 posts on there on the DDB forums, because I would just sort of write articles on there and do the release notes for things, talk about respond to people when they've got issues, or talk to them about how to help out with home brewing. So yeah.
Well, although I've never met you in person, I think I can sort of safely say that you're not a bot or AI. I hope not, anyway.
Thanks.
There we go. And so we've had a look at the way things are actually sort of going, D&D Beyond, and the future actually of it. There's other things, of course, that you're going to be sort of working on in the future. So obviously, off camera, you've already told me your favourite role-playing game. I'm now going to put you on the spot and ask you for one of them, your 3 favourite role-playing games.
My 3 favourite role-playing games.
Because one is never enough. Go on.
So I'm quite neurodivergent. Like any kind of top or favourite thing is actually pretty hard for me because it changes.
Same.
But so all right, but no, I can do that. And D&D isn't in that top 3.
That's okay. It's not.
So. Fine by me.
It's the game I've played the most of by far and away, and I really enjoy it, but it's not my favorite. My absolute favorite passion game. You know what? I'll do it in reverse. So let's go 1, 2, 3. Third, Pendragon. Brilliant.
Yep, that's in my top 5.
A friend of mine in Birmingham has been running a Pendragon campaign with largely the same players, although they've switched around as people move, for 25 years. I was involved in that for the first 20 of those. That's some game campaign, right?
That is, yeah.
Brilliant. So I had a lot of fun doing that, and I just love the setting and the game mechanics, which like a little bit tweaking, and it works really well. My second favorite, Shadowrun.
Yeah, which edition? Any particular edition, or just Shadowrun?
I played second edition a lot. After that, it's got Catalyst rebooted it like a bunch of times. So they're on 6th edition at the moment. But
they are, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll find it.
Like that 5th edition, I've got the 5th edition rule book, and it's like over 500 pages. It's like this thick. I'm like, whoa, okay, there's a table for everything, but trying to remember any of that stuff, it's just so daunting. But I actually played a lot of 1st edition, and at the same time we were playing Earth Dawn as well. And then they started releasing all the crossover material.
Yeah.
When those originally came out, and that was like fascinating. We played both. So I'll kind of lump those together, because the actual design of the game and the way that it's worked, which like the whole of D6s, was actually felt quite innovative to me at the time, and
it was brilliant. When it came out, there was nothing else really like it.
Yeah, and the whole blend of cyberpunk and magic, and that kind of near future. I loved it. Played a lot of that with friends.
Yeah, how brilliant was that cover as well for Shadowrun, the Larry Elmore cover with the. I remember seeing that, and I was just sold on that straight away.
It just drew you in. And if there was a cover that just completely summarizes the setting, it will be that.
I could kick myself. About 20 years ago, I had the chance to actually buy that piece of artwork, and I went and bought another piece of Larry Elmore's artwork instead, and I could kick myself.
Never mind.
And the actual rules themselves just fell apart in the most hilarious places, right?
Yeah.
And and there's the whole trope of the Netrunner's going to, so the Decker's going to break into this computer system. Like everybody is like, well, we're going to pop to the shops and get dinner then while you're doing that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff around bounding and successes and stuff's just got massive issues. But the actual books themselves, with the art for the time, is outstanding, and the like just the level of detail and imagination that went into all those source books. They had so much in them. I just never seen anything like it at the time. It was years ahead of its time for me.
Yeah, it genuinely was. It was so unusual, and it's arrived, I think, at the right time. As you mentioned there, Earth Dawn as well, which was an absolutely such a great, I suppose addition is the wrong word to it, because obviously it was a game in itself, but
Yeah.
again, the lore and mythos behind that and the way they interconnected, it was just an absolutely fantastic movie.
Although they don't officially anymore because license
No.
holding, yeah.
That's it. Not anymore, but they did back in the
My
day.
number one then, Cyberpunk. It's probably no surprise after Shadowrun.
No.
And Cyberpunk, 2020 and Red, which is what I'm playing at the moment with friends. There's something about Cyberpunk. We talked about this a bit off air, but I fell in love with it when I walked into Game Store in Birmingham, where I was living at the time, and saw this book just come in, looked at it, and I'm like, what? Wow, just had a quick flick through it and picked it up and then started reading. I'd never heard of William Gibson at that point. Started reading the books and I'm just like hooked from that point onwards.
The art, I think, in Cyberpunk as well was very different to other role-playing games as well. The line arts that they came up with are very stylized, but it really suited the actual game.
Yeah.
That was my take on it. And again, just nothing else really like it. It was, I think, a brilliant idea by a great designer. Again, the system as well. How different was that?
Yeah, right. Like the whole D10 system. I mean, I suppose it's not massively different. It's like, it's just it is literally just, roll the dice and add your values and see if you can hit a target, right? But I don't think that had anything particularly innovative about it. And certainly 2020 had a lot of issues around bounding, but that was very common in 90s 90s tabletop games where you had a core rulebook and then release more books that give you more stuff and it'll all start stacking up. Then suddenly you've got characters that can just do like truly absurd stuff because they've got all the content from these books.
Yeah, that's
for Cyberpunk, which is a game I came to late. It was amazing, like what you could do. It was just literally just if you can think it, you can be it. It was very cool.
And my personal preference for playing is I really love story-driven games rather than crunch and dice-driven games. I've got a regular group that I sometimes play with, sometimes run for, and all the various others that take turns in GMing have got different styles. My style is very much, hey, don't roll a dice unless I say you need to roll a dice, because I'd much rather we do it, with give narrative control to the players to empower them to help play the story, tell the story, rather than me just sort of say, hey, this story's on rails, this is how this is going.
Yeah. When you take a look at the way that role playing has actually sort of changed over the years from the 70s and 80s through the 90s, the 2000s, right? It really has sort of come along in leaps and bounds. The changes, still same core elements there, but I think it's been an amazing journey. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll stop it there for tonight. I would love it if you'd actually sort of come back and talk some more with us.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I can go well outside my top three. Number 4 would be Amber, by the way, diceless role playing. Love that.
Not played that for years. In fact, I'll tell you what. Here's something. If you'll come back and give us a top 10, there you go.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. Make me make lists. Wait. You just give me homework. How's that fair?
That's it. Yeah, that's. I'll tell you what. I'll do a top 10 as well, and it'd be quite interesting to actually sort of see.
Yeah, we'll do a top 10. See where we go. Yeah, top 10 of our favorite games of all time.
It's well, the 3 that you've actually sort of mentioned there. Mine change on a regular basis, but certainly 2 of those would always be in the top 10, definitely.
Mhm.
But it'd be quite interesting to actually sort of see how they actually
So
sort of stack up.
top 10
Um,
favorite rather than top 10 best, because they're different, right? So I like some really trashy games. Just saying.
Oh God, tell me about. I've got some really trashy games, but it's the fun of it, and it's what you make of them. That's
how you
that's
run
what's
them, you know.
yeah,
Cool.
exactly. It's how you actually sort of play the game and the fun you get out of it and what you make of it. And the thing that really makes it the people around the table with you or online with you playing. That's what really makes the game.
It is, yeah.
That's where the memories come from, and that's what makes gaming great. It's all about the fellowship, the friends,
I
and the
still
laugh.
have really good friends I've known for like 30 years who, when we talk, over a couple of drinks, we're talking about, this stuff that happened in that campaign that I ran. And I'm like, that was 10 years ago, but it was great. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah. But you still come back to the table and you remember it. And yet you won't be able to remember any other things from 10 years ago. But like, really, what was that? But you'll always remember the key part of your game.
Sometimes I have trouble remembering what happened yesterday, but
We will do that.
yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah, definitely. Right. So there we go. If you wouldn't mind a bit of homework, and please do join us again in the not too distant future. You're quite welcome to join us anytime. We record regularly, and it'd be great to have you on board from time to time to just talk games, basically.
Sure, that sounds fun to me.
Right. Well, thank you very much. This is Ade from Top Dice and Chris and Faith as well. Thank you very much again.
Thank you very much.
So appreciated. And we'll see you again soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.